Welcome back to It's Personal, brought to you by Gundersen Health System. I'm Chris Stauffer. Well, obesity rates across the country, we hear about them all the time, kind of on the upswing. Their obesity rates seem to be climbing. There is some good news. Wisconsin's not in the top 7. Here to talk a little bit about how Wisconsin's doing, and actually really more about how we're all doing, is Cindy Solis. She's a registered dietitian with Gundersen Health System. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So, obesity rates, we talk about them all the time. Do you talk about them in nutrition therapy? Is this a concern about the general population?
It is a concern, and we do talk about it amongst ourselves as dietitians. We're obviously very concerned about how we as a nation are doing in regards to the obesity rates.
I mean, locally, I know that registered dietitians are having more and more demanded of you, from people trying to lose weight to people trying to maintain weight to people that are just trying to say, how can I eat healthier? Mm-hmm. How can I eat healthier?
It starts with, obviously you hear this all the time, but balance. And some things that people may not even be thinking about, but learning to recognize your hunger and fullness cues. It's not always about what you're eating. So that's part of it, but It's also how much you're eating.
So sometimes, you think that you're hungry, but maybe you're thirsty. Sometimes you're thirsty, yes. And you're maybe needing some food, but I've heard registered dietitian after registered dietitian say moderation is kind of the key, mm-hmm. But you can't skip meals either.
Right.
So breakfast is an important one.
Breakfast is important, and you're absolutely right that you can't skip meals. We know that if we're skipping meals, we're more likely to feel deprived and then overindulge.
What if you're feeling like, hey, I'm really just not hungry, but I feel like it's time for me to eat? This is sort of like, how do you tell somebody, go ahead and eat, even though you're not maybe necessarily hungry, but it is breakfast time?
And that's going to depend on person to person, because we may not always recommend that right away when you wake up in the morning, you have to eat something. If someone really just isn't into eating first thing in the morning,
sure.
It's okay to put it off until you're feeling a little more hungry.
Okay.
But yeah, absolutely trying to get in some nutrition in the morning.
Why is that so important, that first meal of the day? Why is it so important to kind of keep that engine fed all the time?
It starts the fuel for the day, so your metabolism can keep going throughout the day.
So talk about metabolism, because I've heard this time and time again. It seems counterintuitive, because you're saying, yeah, you need to have some breakfast, you need to have something to eat in the morning to get that metabolism going, but you're also saying I'm not really all that hungry. How does that work? Why is metabolism so important?
So there's a lot of myths surrounding metabolism, or a lot of misunderstandings. So as I was kind of saying before, it's important to keep the nutrition steady throughout the day so your body is able to continuously working that metabolism. So if you're essentially depriving yourself first thing in the morning, it's not, your body doesn't have any fuel to burn. You're going to eventually feel over-hungry, overeat, typically is what we see.
So in other words, your body's going to make up for that later on. So
mm-hmm.
At night you might be you might have a full meal and still not feel full. You've had supper, but now you're looking for a bowl of popcorn and a bowl of cereal.
Yeah, or even if you're feeling full, you might not feel satisfied
okay.
because you deprived yourself all day.
All right, and your body's saying, I got to prepare for tomorrow, because we might not eat until noon or in the evening, right? What is the big advice, though, that you give to, I'll say, your customers, people that come in that are looking to lose weight? How do you shed a few pounds over a couple of weeks' time? And I think that's the healthy way, not
mm-hmm.
trying to do it all at once. What's the main advice that you try and give?
Not everyone's going to be struggling with losing weight in the same way. So some people might be struggling with balance. Other people might be struggling with overeating. Other people might have such a busy schedule that they are trying to work around when they're eating. So I would say structure and balance are two important factors.
All right, let's talk a little bit about structure then, because structure, let's face it, a lot of us have busy lives. They vary from day to day, so it's sometimes difficult to have breakfast every day at 7 a.m. and lunch at noon and then supper at whatever time as well. How do you get around that? What's your advice to that person that may be eating at a different time each day of the week?
Planning ahead, it's really important to figure out what your schedule is going to look like the next day or even a week in advance. Some people find it helpful to do all or most of their meal prep on Sunday or whatever day where they have a good block of time to do that grocery shopping and even making some meals ahead of time. And that might mean putting things in the freezer so they can thaw that out later in the week to have it prepared.
And trying to go towards that healthy side is a challenge for a lot of us, especially when you go into work and somebody brings in, a whole bag of donuts or something. Your advice there?
Think about if you're going to have that treat, is that donut something that's really intriguing to you, or do you want to save having that treat for something you're really going to enjoy?
All right. The donut might not be your favorite kind of donut is what you're getting at.
Exactly.
So, yeah. All right. We're talking with Cindy Solis. She's a registered dietitian at Gundersen Health System about, obesity and the fact that I guess you could say that rates are always on the increase, it seems like. It's a huge challenge for nutrition therapy. But there are some tools right on the Gundersen Health System website. And from what I understand, Cindy, you can even subscribe to what's called Nutrition Bites. Can you explain what that is?
Nutrition Bites Weekly is a weekly newsletter that you can subscribe to. Each week, you'll get an article sent to you written by one of our registered dietitians. It's just a brief article on an interesting topic, nutrition related, and then a couple recipes with that too.
All right. Those recipes are very popular from what I understand.
They are.
Can you give me an example of some recipes that are out there that constantly get buzzed about?
One of the popular ones that I can think of just off the top of my head is the black bean brownie recipe. Yeah, something a little different, and it might not sound great, but trust me, you can't.
I'm glad you said that because I was thinking of that. Yeah.
You can't taste the beans.
Okay.
It gives it a little bit of a chewy texture.
Okay.
It's more filling, has fiber in it, more nutritious, and it is still delicious.
All right, still delicious.
Yes.
I'm going to trust you on that, and I'll look up that recipe, but kind of hard to beat some of those chocolate brownies, that's for sure, but worth certainly giving it a shot. I know there's other healthy things on there like healthy pizza. And a lot of people say, well, pizza, isn't that healthy? It's got all the food groups in there, but I don't think that's maybe on the top of your list when it comes to recommended food items. But there are healthy options about pizza that you can make at home, for example.
There are. Even just simple things you can do with pizza, like using less cheese to reduce the sodium and fat content, and piling on the veggies. Onions, green peppers, mushrooms.
Veggies.
Lots of good toppings.
Veggies. And next time you have a birthday, instead of bringing that bag of donuts in, bring in that black bean brownie recipe as well. Cindy, we're out of time, but thanks for joining us. And again, if you want to subscribe, you can to Nutrition Bites. You can certainly hear more from Cindy and many of the other registered dietitians at Gundersen Health System. Their tips on things like losing weight, maintaining weight, and not gaining weight as well. Cindy Solis from Gundersen Health System, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And again, those tips are on the Gundersen Health System website. That's gundersenhealth.org.